Is Meaghan Dennison, the CEO of Cape Fear Collective, which recently started buying real estate to try to address our region's affordable housing issues, as well as undertaking other projects to try to prompt systemic change in our community. Please join me in welcoming Meaghan to the stage.
Good morning. It's wonderful to be here today. It's a pleasure to join you and share a little bit more about our impact investments, maybe demystify it a bit. I first want to start by thanking my team over at Table 15. None of the work I'm about to share would be possible without their work. And they continue to inspire me every day by ruthlessly attacking problems that, as anyone in the room that may own real estate knows, there are fire drills every day. So 3 years ago, our founder and former CEO, Patrick Bryan, shared this stage at this event. And he laid out an admittedly ambitious path for our organization and for the community. He spoke of Simon Sinek's infinite mindset, the idea that there is an ever-changing landscape and it requires 1,000 many victories in order to transform our social, economic, and health status. What did he mean? Essentially, we need to break the old system, disrupt it, and build a new one. And we need to get very comfortable that none of the problems that ail us today, severe housing shortages, poverty, access to reliable transportation, will be solved in 5 or even 10 years. In fact, they'll never fully be solved, because this is an infinite game and there is no definitive end. Instead, we must get really comfortable with the idea of failing fast, of iterating, of being data-driven, and when you find a small impact in the positive direction, double down. And that's really what we're searching for. Not solutions, impact. We have a saying at Cape Fear Collective that data plus capital equals impact. It's become somewhat of a North Star for our team and led to the creation of our social impact investing platform. We use private investment, and we purchase naturally occurring affordable housing in our region. We repair and renovate the properties with the goal to offload them to first-time home buyers or nonprofits. Our goal, overall, is to build a larger pool of first-time homeowners in our community. And this idea came from hundreds of meetings, many with familiar faces in the room. And what we did was try to pair your expertise with a deep dive into the data. So let's look at some data today. For our housing experts in the room that are on the front lines every day in affordable housing, none of what I'm about to share is a surprise, but bear with me. 36% of households in New Hanover County, or over 30,000 households, are housing cost burdened. What does that mean? It means they spent at least 30% of their income, if not more, on housing alone, not leaving a lot for the other necessities. Home prices in southeastern North Carolina have grown at a rate of 22% faster than the rest of the state. This is primarily driven by New Hanover County, where we stand today, and that home prices in our county alone have risen by slightly more than 5% a year since 2013. And you need to make a minimum of $42,000 a year to afford a 2-bedroom apartment in our community. I want to compare this to our workforce and our salaries in our region. Take a look at what's below this line. For folks in the back, preschool teachers, firefighters, nursing assistants, the people that take care of us and help our lives run each and every day, virtually locked out of the market. Home ownership is becoming increasingly unattainable. Jumping the gun. Home ownership is becoming increasingly unattainable for most people in our region. And our low-income neighbors are at serious risk of their ability to sustain their current rental housing, let alone affording to buy a home. If you're not a cash buyer, get ready for an uphill battle, let alone the need to sometimes offer well above asking price for a property. And we all know that from the markets we've seen recently. These factors paired together all but eliminate first-time homebuyers from the market. And eliminating first-time homebuyers does more than drive housing inequity, which it certainly does. It suffocates wealth creation. And we know that the fastest way to generational wealth in the United States is home ownership. That is why our goal with this program is to build a ramp to generational wealth. And it brings us to the second part of the equation. Data plus capital equals impact. Let's talk about capital. We spent the first 2 years here talking to many of you in this room. And our goal in that was not only to listen and learn, but to understand how we can support the incredible work already happening in our region to address these really wicked problems. And what we heard almost repeatedly was not only the need to access data and capital, but particularly around capital, it was a lack of access, but specifically around housing. How do we unlock more capital for housing? We turned to the partners on the screen, and we launched a social impact investing platform. Today, we have $17 million deployed into 100 single-family homes, mostly in Wilmington's South Side and North Side neighborhoods, many in walking distance to this building. We also have a 15-unit permanent supportive housing complex on the east side of town to house our most vulnerable neighbors. This is not charity. Our investors receive a modest return, like other successful social impact businesses. Granted, the return is below market rate, but the social return is exponential. And every dollar invested is securing affordable housing and allowing us again to build that ramp to generational wealth. So how does it work? We purchase, preserve, repair, and renovate existing housing in our community. And let me tell you the uphill battle that is. These houses have been neglected for decades by landlords. This is not a fault of any of the residents in those properties. They have been ignored by landlords. And our first job, candidly, is to make them livable. We are trying to redefine community health by focusing on the building blocks, first being housing. Think of a map of Wilmington, and the census tracts with the severe housing problems are also those with food insecurity, low-performing schools, and poor health outcomes. It's really hard to lead a healthy life without a quality place to live. Consider this. 1 in 5 census tracts in the Cape Fear region lacks adequate kitchen and plumbing facilities. Adequate, not above average. And this tracks with what we're seeing across our portfolio. I'll give you some examples. We found a beehive in the kitchen of one of our houses. Been there for years. Gray water in another house was not connected underneath, just drained into the crawl space. At one time this summer, we were replacing 3 roofs a week. These are not cosmetic repairs. I cannot wait, and our team cannot wait till we get to cosmetic repairs. You could see light coming through the ceiling. That is what our neighbors are experiencing. So what have we done about it? To date, we've invested about $800,000 in repairs and renovations alone. As I mentioned, we're not even close to being finished. As our property management team, my team on the ground, the work orders pouring through, and our contractors will attest, we have a long way to go. But again, each dollar is stabilizing the property, ideally lowering utility cost for the resident, and hopefully making each house more into a home. And we really do look at each dollar invested as an investment in the broader community. Our hope, and I think we can attest to this, is that our residents no longer have to worry about predatory landlords that are squeezing every dollar out of those rent rolls. And our goal is to give them ownership of their community. And I want to use a specific house as an example here, located on the south side. We purchased this property in January of 2022 as part of a 68-unit portfolio, occupied at the time almost every property with current renters. We know now, having been in that home and done some repairs, that family used to own that property. Unfortunately, during the housing crisis, they sold it to a landlord, and it was rented back to them at a profit. This family, with relatives down the street, has lived in Wilmington, same block, for more than a century. It's their home. It's their home, yet it's building wealth for someone else. Our goal is to restore ownership of that property to that family. And we want to do that for more families. And we can't do it without many of you in this room. We want more individuals to move from renting to owning to put down roots. But goodness, are we far from done. As our team looks to 2023, we plan to dig really deep into this model until it is ruthlessly efficient. We want to work with organizations on the front lines in the housing sector and break down barriers to home ownership, some of which we covered today. We also want to work with the nonprofit community and unlock additional housing inventory for your programming. You are already housing individuals. You are providing transitional housing, emergency housing, but you need the inventory. We hope to play a small role in that. In big picture, we want to improve the quality of the housing stock in the Cape Fear region, one house at a time, one roof at a time, 500 work orders later at a time. And we're thankful to have a really tight group of preferred contractors helping us do that work. But the door is always open if you know others. Because essentially for us, at the end of the day, we feel the pathway to a healthier community is through data and capital for positive impact. And we're pretty sure and working towards that impact starting at home. Because we believe housing is health. And we're just getting started, and we welcome you to join us. And it's going to take 1,000 mini victories in this infinite game and a problem that will never fully be solved. But because housing is health, we'll continue on. Thank you.